1. The Atlantic bleeds. In the cold, grey expanse of the ocean, a battle rages unseen by most of the world. It is a war of tonnage, of logistics, of silent hunters and their desperate prey. German U-boats, operating in coordinated wolf packs, are strangling the Allied war effort. They sink ships faster than they can be built. By the war's end, 3,500 merchant vessels and 175 warships will be sent to the ocean floor. This is the Battle of the Atlantic. And at its heart, on the coast of occupied France, a fortress was conceived. A concrete behemoth built not just to win the war, but to outlast the 1,000-year Reich itself. A place that would become the most heavily defended, most resilient, and most secretive U-boat base ever constructed. Its name, Karaman III. For 80 years, its deepest secrets were sealed, its most damning stories methodically erased from the official narrative. But history, like the ocean, eventually gives up its dead. Now forbidden footage, long thought destroyed, breaks free. This is the story of the deleted fortress. To understand Karaman, you must first understand the stakes. Britain is an island nation, utterly dependent on imports for survival and for war. Food, fuel, steel, soldiers, everything arrives by sea. Admiral Karl Dönitz, commander of the U-boat arm, knows this. His strategy is simple and brutal. Sever the lifeline. He needs forward bases on the Atlantic coast to extend the range and operational time of his submarines. France's deep water ports become the linchpins of his entire campaign. And the most important of these is Lorient. Nestled at the confluence of the Scorff, and Blavet rivers, it offers unparalleled access to the hunting grounds of the North Atlantic. But a base is a target. The British Royal Air Force knows that if they can destroy the U-boats in their pens, they can win the war. The Germans need a sanctuary. A place not just to rearm and refuel, but to repair and protect their most valuable assets. They need something impregnable. The solution was the Lorient U-boat base, a sprawling complex of 3 colossal structures: Karaman I, Karaman II, and the jewel in the crown, Karaman III. Over 1 million square feet of steel-reinforced concrete poured day and night for 2 years. The project, run by the TOT organization, was a monumental feat of engineering, built on a foundation of human misery. Over 15,000 workers were conscripted, a mix of French civilians, foreign volunteers, and thousands of forced laborers and political prisoners from across occupied Europe. They toiled in horrific conditions, their lives measured in cubic meters of concrete. Karaman I and II were conventional designs, wet pens connected directly to the harbour. But Karaman III was different. It was a fortress within a fortress, a doomsday dock for a new generation of silent supersubs. Carved into a rocky peninsula between the 2 rivers, Karaman III was a masterpiece of defensive architecture. Unlike the other bunkers, it was not directly on the water. It was a landlocked fortress. U-boats would enter a protected basin where a gigantic 14,000-ton concrete caisson, a submersible elevator, would lift the submarine completely out of the water. From there, a massive traverser table, like a railway turntable, would shuttle the 800-ton boat across a concrete apron and into one of 2 heavily protected dry docks. This system allowed for comprehensive repairs and refits, safe from aerial attack. The entire structure was covered by a multi-layered roof, over 7 meters thick, designed to withstand the largest bombs in the Allied arsenal. It was a self-contained city of war. Torpedo workshops, engine repair bays, crew quarters, and command centers, all buried beneath a mountain of concrete. And the Allies tried to destroy it, relentlessly. Lorient was bombed over 500 times. It became one of the most heavily targeted cities in France. But while the historic city itself was obliterated, reduced to a sea of rubble with over 90% of its buildings destroyed, the bunkers endured. The bombs simply bounced off. The fortress never fell. It was a strategic failure for the Allies and a propaganda victory for the Reich. The U-boats continued their deadly sorties until the final days of the war. But the survival of the structure is not the most compelling part of its story. The true mystery is what happened after the war ended. Why was this symbol of Nazi engineering and defiance, this tomb for thousands of slave laborers, not preserved as a monument or a warning, but systematically erased from the popular record? This is why we call it the deleted fortress. In the chaotic aftermath of Germany's surrender, Karaman III became a prize. Allied intelligence teams swarmed the facility not to demolish it, but to dissect it. They were hunting for technology. The bunker was designed to service the Electroboot, the Type 28 and Type 78B submarines. These were vessels decades ahead of their time, capable of greater underwater speed and endurance than any Allied sub. They were the true silent hunters, the blueprint for the next generation of submarine warfare. The secrets of their propulsion, their sonar, their acoustic coatings, all were studied and spirited away by American, British, and Soviet teams. The base itself was a source of intelligence on advanced construction and defensive engineering. The story of Karaman was classified, its technological secrets absorbed into the burgeoning Cold War. The narrative was simplified. The Allies won, the U-boats were beaten. The uncomfortable truth of this invulnerable fortress, and the advanced technology it protected, was buried in top-secret reports. But the erasure may have been driven by something far darker than technology theft. For decades, whispers and contested histories have linked high-ranking Nazis to clandestine escape networks, known as rat lines. These routes allegedly funneled fugitives and looted wealth out of Europe. Archival hints and survivor testimonies suggest that in the final, desperate days of the Reich, U-boats leaving bases like Lorient were involved. There are contested reports of submarines making clandestine voyages to Spain, the Canary Islands, specifically to the enigmatic Villa Winter, and onward to Perón's Argentina. Was Karaman III a final departure point? And what were they carrying? The most persistent rumor is Nazi gold, crates of bullion, art, and other plundered assets loaded onto submarines for a life after the Reich. These claims remain highly controversial, dismissed by many mainstream historians. Yet, the questions linger. Why were so many records from the base's final weeks systematically destroyed? Why the intense secrecy? The official history is silent. Now in 2025, the silence is broken. A confluence of events, the centennial of Alan Turing's foundational work on computation and new EU laws on archival transparency, has triggered a wave of declassifications. From a forgotten sub-basement in a French naval archive, a collection of scorched and water-damaged film canisters has emerged. They were marked for destruction in 1945, but were somehow misplaced, hidden or saved by a lone archivist. Inside, 47 minutes of forbidden film, smuggled out of Karaman in the final days, damaged, burned, and decaying for 80 years. For the first time, this nitrate footage has been painstakingly digitized, its 2.3 terabytes of data stabilized and restored. What it contains is explosive. It is a raw, unfiltered look inside the fortress as the Reich crumbled. It is the visual evidence that was meant to be deleted forever. The 47 minutes are a ghost reel. They show the silent hunters of the 2nd and 10th U-boat flotillas in their final hours at the base. We see crews, their faces a mixture of fanaticism and fear. We see the loading of unusual cargo, heavily guarded, stenciled crates, handled with a desperate urgency that belies official supply runs. We see evidence of escape routes being planned on naval charts. And we see the cover-up in progress, gloved hands feeding logbooks, codebooks, and personnel files into incinerators. This film does not offer easy answers. It is fragmented, silent, and haunting. But it corroborates the darkest rumors. It shows the means, the motive, and the opportunity for a grand deception, buried under the rubble of victory. The graves of the slave laborers who built the fortress are unmarked. The gold is unaccounted for. The fugitives are ghosts, but the film is real. Today, the Karaman base still stands. You can visit it. Part of it is a museum, a memorial to the Battle of the Atlantic and the city of Lorient. You can walk the concrete apron where U-boats were moved like chess pieces. You can stand inside the colossal pens and feel the chilling scale of the ambition and the cruelty that built them. It is a place of complex memory, honoring the Allied sailors who died at sea, the French civilians who perished in the bombing, and, increasingly, the forgotten slave laborers buried in its foundations. But the official tour does not tell the full story. It cannot show you the secrets that were burned, the technology that was stolen, or the alleged escape routes that were plotted in its final days. It presents a fortress that was conquered by history. We now know that is not the whole truth. Keraman III was never destroyed. It was deleted. Its inconvenient truths were redacted from the triumphant narrative of the war. But film doesn't lie. The base is open. The archives are yielding their secrets. The war's darkest secret has surfaced. Please subscribe to our channel, History Documentary, hub for more insightful videos and intriguing content.